In this video, we will be talking about unknown angles, topic 1, complementary angles, supplementary angles, vertical angles, and angles that sum to 360. The first type that we're going to talk about today are complementary angles. Those are two angles that add up to 90, meaning that they make a right angle. So here we can see that we have angle DEB and angle CBE. Those two angles sum to 90 because on the left side we have angle DBA, which was already 90 degrees. So here DBE could be an angle such as 50 degrees, while CBE could be an angle such as 40 degrees, where the two of them together sum to 90 degrees. The next type of angle that we have to talk about are supplementary angles. These are angles whose measures add to 180. So here we could say that angle DBA and, oops, I'm writing off to the side, and angle DBC are supplementary. Because they lie on a straight line, they add up to 180 degrees in total. The next set of angles we have to talk about are vertical angles. These are formed out of intersecting lines, and they form congruent vertical angles. So here in this picture we can see the opposite angles DBA and CBE are vertical, and therefore they are congruent. In every set of intersecting lines, there are two pairs of vertical angles. So here we also have angles DBC and EBA that are also congruent. The last set of angles that we need to talk about are adjacent angles. These are angles that sum to 360. Adjacent meaning next to. So all of these angles in this picture are next to one another. Angle BDC is next to angle ADB, which is also next to angle ADC. Now these angles are also called around a point because they all have vertex D. They sum to 360 because remember, angles in a circle add up to 360. So here angle BDC plus the measure of angle BDA plus the measure of angle ADC is equal to 360. Now we'll begin looking at a few example problems before you get an opportunity to practice. In number 1 here, it says if two supplementary angles are in the ratio 2 to 3, find the measure of both angles. So our first goal is to remember what supplementary means. And if we look on our previous page, it means two angles that add to 180 degrees. Now another thing that we have to think about is what we should be doing with this ratio 2 to 3. And our task here is to always attach an x. When we see ratios, attach an x. Now the 2x and the 3x are representing two angles whose sum is 180 because remember again, they are supplementary. So here their sum, meaning adding, is equal to 180. Okay, so now we're just going to solve. 2x plus 3x is a total of 5x equal to 180. And then we're going to divide both sides by 5. To find that x is 36. Now our last step is to find the measure of both angles. That means I need to plug that 36 in for both 2x and 3x. 2 times 36 is 72, and 3 times 36 is 108. Okay, so here our final answer would be 72 and 108. In question 2, I see a picture where I have all angles around the same point. Those again are called angles around a point whose sum is 360. So in order to find the measure of the largest angle, I need to take all three angles and add them to 360. So I have 3x plus 10 plus 2x plus 45 plus 2x plus 60 equals a total of 360. So here again we're just going to be solving. Pause the video so that you can solve on your own and then check back with your answer with mine. Pause now. Okay, so you should have found x to be 35. But remember our task here is to find the measure of the largest angle. So we do in fact have to plug 35 back in for x in all three cases here. So I have 3 times 35 plus 10, 2 times 35 plus 45, and 2 times 35 plus 60. So after plugging each of those in, I found I have two angles that are both 115 degrees. This one here is 115, and this one down here is 115. But then I found the angle of 130 degrees. And again, our goal was to find the measure of the largest angle. So here I'm just going to say largest angle equals 130 degrees. And that there is your final answer. Moving on to number 3 down here. It says that we are asked to solve for x and y. So I'm looking at this picture and I see a 2x here, a y plus x, and a y minus x. And I can look at this picture in a couple different ways. I can see that I know vertical angles are congruent. I also know that angles on a straight line are supplementary, meaning they add up to 180. And then there's this missing angle here. And I'm not sure exactly what I want to do with that yet, but if I wanted to, I could call it y plus x, because remember it's vertical and congruent to the angle just above it. But I think that we should start with the 180. So I know that y plus x plus y minus x is equal to 180 degrees. So I'm just going to combine like terms and start solving. I notice that the x and the minus x are going to cancel. So then I have a total of 2y equals 180. Therefore, y is 90. So at this point I'm already halfway done. I've found y, but now I have to go back and find x. So here I'm going to go back to the use of the vertical angles, where I know that 2x is equal to y minus x. But instead of y, I now want to put 90. I'm going to combine like terms, bring variables to one side, constants to another. So now I have 3x equals 90. Divide by 3 to give me x equals 30. So again, you might have to take a second to look at your picture, see what they give you, what you could use in order to start the problem. If I had started with 2x equals y minus x, knowing that I had vertical angles, I wouldn't have been able to get anywhere. I would have ended up with something like 3x equals y. And you can't solve that because there's two different variables. Whereas when I used the supplementary rule with this equation, I saw that the positive x and the negative x were able to cancel out. And last problem on this page. Segment AB and CD intersect at E. So I'm going to start by drawing this picture. Segment AB and CD intersect at point E. So they cross each other. Hopefully you can see at this point a couple different types of angles being formed. We have some vertical angles as we saw in the last picture, and also some supplementary angles because there are several straight lines here. They give me the measure of angle AEC. So AEC is 4x plus 30. They also give me the measure of angle BED. BED is 2x plus 44. Take a second to think about what you would do with 4x plus 30 and 2x plus 44. Would you add them to 180? Or would you set them equal to each other? Take a second to think about it and then check back with me. Okay, so hopefully you recognize that these two angles are vertical angles. So here I'm going to set them equal to each other because remember vertical angles are congruent. So I have 4x plus 30 equals 2x plus 44. So now I'm just going to solve. Take 2x away from both sides, so I have 2x plus 30 equals 44. Take 30 away from both sides, so now I have 2x equals 14. Divide by 2, so I get x equals 7. Now a lot of students end up leaving that as their final answer because they forget to go back and reread. But our final task here is to find the measure of angle CEB. CEB is this angle here with no expression on it, no numbers on it, nothing. So I have to think back about what I know about straight lines. Straight lines, remember, are supplementary. So if I can find the measure of angle BED, the 2x plus 44, then I should be able to find the measure of angle CEB. Let's call this y. We don't know what it is, so we'll call it y. So here I know that the measure of angle BED just needs me to substitute x equals 7 in for it. So I have 2 times 7 plus 44. 14 plus 44 gives us a total value of 58. So here now I know that this angle is 58 degrees. And my next step is to find the measure of angle y, or that angle CEB. But remember, we know that on a straight line, two angles that are on a straight line add up to 180 degrees. So here I can write an equation, y plus 58 equals 180. Y equals 122. If you want to go back and call it measure of angle CEB equals 122, that would be your best option.